almost done. This is part 5 of the Volkswagen Rabbit pickup truck restoration series, or refresh, I would say. Not truly a restoration since the car ended up being in such great shape to begin with. But let's take a close look at it and see what has changed. Part 6, well, part 6 is when we go for a drive, because I've got a DMV inspector coming up here next week to okay this for tags, and then it's time to hit the road. I have driven it twice on test drives, let's say, back forth to town, and it has worked okay, but I haven't really had a chance to take it out and really enjoy it. So as we showed in the last video, we got some Mastercraft Avenger GT white walled tires that I added there. So new tires, new struts, new steering rack boots, a lot of new parts up here. I'll pop the hood here in a second and show you. Back here, Rhino liner, the bed, so I am going to be using this as a truck. And then I added a add-a-leaf helper spring back here, so it has a nice high load capacity now, more of a 3/4 ton, or at least a half a ton instead of the 1/4 ton that it came with stock. But let me go ahead and take the camera off the mount. I'll show you the engine, I'll show you the interior. So the big weight here was electrical wiring issues. You saw in one of the previous videos me going through and going over a lot of the electrical issues that this vehicle had. I was able to find a new old stock German fuse box for it, had that shipped from Germany, and installed that, replaced all the relays, and fixed all the wiring. And of course there was a little bit of a shakedown. Once I got it all in, some of the lights weren't working on the dash properly. I went ahead and replaced those lights with LED lights, and I think it gives the car a really neat look. But then I realized my oil pressure light wasn't working and my temperature light weren't working properly. The temp bulb was blown out, so I replaced that. The oil pressure light does work. It's actually the sensor that's bad. I've got that part on order. So just a few little things. The other little thing that I still haven't finished here is that the heater fan, this doesn't have air conditioning, but the cabin fan does not work. It blows the fuse immediately and it's locked up. So I've ordered one of those. That'll be another project for another time. Don't really intend on driving this much in cold weather, so it shouldn't be an issue for right now. But let me get the camera off the tripod. We'll do a quick walk around, and then we'll check out the inside and the engine compartment. Okay, and I apologize if the camera shakes. I did get a pretty expensive camera to try to help with the fact that my hands shake a little bit at this point, but hopefully it's not too bad for you. As we walk around to the back, you will notice something different. This was something I installed here this last weekend, and that is the original vinyl decals for the Volkswagen symbol. So this has been a repainted vehicle, so I was able to find an OEM. Well, I think it's their reproductions, but they're beautiful. It came out very, very nice. I like the standout. So the silver with the black accents, I kept that look throughout the whole vehicle, and I think it really worked out well. Of course, in the last video, I showed you that I did add a hitch, 1 7/8, so I can haul my little trailer. And of course, the 102 steel whip is also loud and proud here. On the test drives, things that I noticed, it's got plenty of power for its size. It handles pretty darn well. The upgraded shocks in the front, the upgraded springs and the upgraded helper spring in the rear really don't negatively affect the way the car handles or the way the car rides. So I'm very happy with that. I did decide to go ahead and leave the window tint in place, and got the wiper motor working properly up front here. Fog lights are installed, and those are hooked to a relay, so they're nice and bright. Same thing with the headlights. I did the Gila H4 headlight upgrade, and it comes with its own relay, because these things suffer from really dim lights, so I was able to get that. I might upgrade those to LED bulbs at some point, but for right now, they're working pretty good. Let me go ahead and open the hood up. Okay, and this is where a lot of magic should have happened, but didn't. The only things that I've done since the last video are the expansion tank has a slow leak, and I replaced the hoses, both the larger and the smaller hose here going to it. Eventually I intend to replace all the hoses on this vehicle because I do want it to be safe to be a daily driver. I've got a whole set for the heater hoses. I've actually got a new heater control valve coming. So those are things that I will take care of as time goes on. Up front, I retimed the engine. The timing belt had just been done, so I didn't need to replace that. I replaced the drive belt though, and changed the oil on it, and recharged the battery a few times because it sat all winter. And of course, I was ready to put this thing on the road when the big shutdown happened, so I wasn't able to do that, and it is kind of sat. But they are now back in business. I got a call from him the other day, and he's coming out to the house to get her done. let's go ahead and take a look at the inside, and really can't see a ton of it, but I'll try to explain all the modifications. All right, it's cleaned up fairly nice. I unfortunately did have to use the original dash, but it worked out pretty well. I've got that Boss MP3 player with Bluetooth, just still blown away by how well that thing works for such an inexpensive radio. Added my switches. This is interior lighting. This is, or I would say, I call it mood lighting. And that one there is for my fogs. And then we've got all the lights working, except for the fasten seatbelts. I've had that relay disabled, but turn signals, brights. The park light, I'm waiting on a switch for it, but it tested good. My switches over here, EGR and CAT, have been disabled. This car didn't come with a CAT, but this instrument cluster came out of another model car. Oil pressure is waiting on a switch, and the temp gauge and the battery light work fine. The horn works. Well, it does with the key on anyway. And over here, I have an auxiliary control to turn my fan on, so that's available, as well as my hazards. Down here, the console that I got from like Slovenia is in, volt gauge, temperature gauge, and I've got the old President Bill hooked up. Now this is a GC code transmission, so it's a 4-speed, but I'm probably not going to be taking too many long highway trips, so I'm going to leave it in. I have purchased a larger engine, I have purchased a 5-speed transmission, but I just haven't felt the need to pull the trigger on that. I think I'm going to enjoy the car for a year or two before making any more modifications to it. You know, it's an original Survivor, so it's kind of just, I don't know, there's a part of me that just doesn't think I should do those kind of upgrades. Keep it to 1.6, and you know, if anything, maybe put a 5-speed in it, but not even put the larger engine in. We'll see how that plays out. Park and brake adjusted, cleaned, all that stuff. Now this car had a amplifier in it, but the amp made a huge racket when the engine was running. You got all that pump whine and stuff like that, and I just couldn't take it anymore. So I got rid of that and just wired it directly to the speakers, and it sounds lovely. So it's really nice, man. Really enjoying that. Let me go ahead and show you. I took a picture or video of this thing at night, so I can show you all the mood lighting and the red backlighting for all the gauges and instrumentation here. I think it really came out well. So that's pretty cool there. I like that. Anyway, I guess that's going to wrap it up. Let me hop out here. I'll show you the seats are cleaned up nicely. Oh, one last thing, and I don't think you can see it very well, but back there is a small ammo box. And so I'm using that. I have two of them, one behind each seat. Actually, the larger thing, that's kind of hard to see, but that right there is the 3-way speaker that the car had in it. There's two of those, but that down there is the ammo box. Of course, I do have a little fire extinguisher here in case things go squirrely on me, which hopefully they won't. But yeah, I keep my spare parts and tools for working on the car there. So, you know, I mean, it's a 40-year-old vehicle. I don't care how good a mechanic you are. If you don't replace it all, something that you forgot to replace is going to go poof. That's just the way it is in this world. So that's it. There's the get down here. You can see the fuse box and the new relays, new fuses, German fuses. I also rebuilt the steering column. The lower bearing was bad, made a clunking sound, so I fixed that. Yeah, so a lot of work.